Hello, hello. How are you, Jasmine?
I'm doing great. Maisia, how are you doing today?
I am fabulous. I'm feeling wonderful. I'm really excited about this conversation with us today. And I'm hoping everyone is out there and that they're watching and that they're, glued in because they are in for a treat today. So I'm very, very excited to bring you on. So, for those of you out there, my name is Naasia Campbell. I'm the founder of Innovative Strategies. And we have a special guest today, Jasmine Berry of Reach Consulting. So, yes, yes. I hope we have next time we'll have the hand claps and everything like that. Okay. So, we have a great, great topic on today. We're going to be talking about how effective operations and systems can assist with fundraising and capacity building. So, this is going to be a real treat because this applies to our clientele and I'm sure hers as well, with
Yes.
organizations as well as businesses. And, for those of you out there who are administrators, who are business owners, I'm pretty sure that this is something that we all know that we absolutely need for our operations. So, before we get started, I just want to have Jasmine and have an opportunity to talk about Reach Consulting, about herself, and then we're just going to hop into it. So take it away, Jasmine.
Well, thank you again for inviting me here today. I'm very excited. And the topic today is something that's very close to me, close to my heart, and close to the mission of Reach as well. What Reach Consulting does is we look at different ways to optimize your operations, essentially. So what that means for me is looking at with different ways and windows and avenues that we can look and see what's going on with the operations. What are you spending a lot of time on? And what are some of those tasks we can kind of eliminate to make sure you can focus on what's important, which is the business development and the vision of your business as a whole. And so we do that through a lot of different avenues and channels, and we're going to get into a little bit of that today.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so, so much for coming on and having this session with us because this is a huge topic for a lot of people. I know for
Yeah.
myself and for my team that just making sure that we have the right platforms, the right strategies, that we have like some cookie cutter things that work for us. I mean, that is just it's pivotal. It's very important and it's vital for every operation that's out there. So yeah, so while we're talking about this, I just want to maybe just ask you a couple of questions
Sure.
and we're just going to have a conversation and hopefully if anyone out there has any questions just hop in the box, chat box, send us some questions and let us know what you would like to hear. So my question basically is I want to know if you can just share with the audience about your journey in the business world and how did you realize the importance of strong operations and systems for businesses and operations?
Sure. Well, for me, my professional experience has been largely sales based. So whether that's been in education, in energy, or even student travel, it's taken different shapes and different forms. But at the end of the day, my function has always been in sales operations. And what that has shown me is it's given me kind of an eye for looking at stuff like a puzzle. I'm able to look at, assess a situation, see if there's any risk involved with it, and I guess I've always kind of had an eye for seeing how I can enhance processes. My mom says that when I was young, I was always doing puzzles. She put me in chess. So maybe that's where that analytical eye comes from. But I've been able to carry that into my professional career as well. And so all of my jobs, as I mentioned, have dealt with sales operations. And I really realized that it was something I liked quite a bit and not just something that I was good at when I was in the energy realm, working for a company there. And that was B2B sales. So, for those who aren't familiar, B2B sales, selling from business to business, whether that's a service, a product, or a good. B2C is business to consumer, but this was a B2B business model. And so we were selling energy to make it sure that people were choosing this energy supplier over another. And with that, B2B business, I realize is very, very systematic. So there's an exact process you have to follow, and the entire culture surrounding that office is You buy into the system, you follow the system, you will have success. And they pair that with a strong office culture. So they had a lot of different things, whether it's different outings every week to make sure that the morale was up. And because all of you who are business owners, entrepreneurs, I'm sure that you know that sometimes you hit some hard times where maybe your spirit's not as much in it. But just seeing how structured it was and how it really did get the results. And then being able to see how I was able to come in different roles as well on the operation side of things and make a small tweak here. And then I'm able to see the results on this end. And so that really got my mind going, being able to see that I can make a small operations tweak and I can almost anticipate what the result's going to be as an outcome. So me being able to get those measurable and replicable results as well really helped me zone in on what it is that I love, which is sales ops.
I love it. And we also know that, regardless of if you're with an organization or if you're with a business, that you
Mhm.
do have clients. You have people that, that you're
Yes.
representing, people that you're serving in some type of way, even if you are sending or giving them things, such as products and different things like that as well. Um, okay. Well,
And I
how about
love the
this?
fact that you said that as well. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, let's talk about it.
I was just saying, I love the fact that you said that as well, because what I've noticed is that a lot of business owners, especially smaller businesses, so those, of course, under 100, but maybe a little closer to that one number than 100, a lot of them don't see themselves as sales professionals, right? And
Mm,
that might be because when you hear sales, you think of the car salesman that's trying to get you to pay for a car that might be $60,000 more than what you want to do. But sales at its core is really just being able to provide a service that meets a need, right? And seeing the best route to be able to do that. And so if you are a business owner, you are a sales professional. So I just love the fact that you highlighted that.
absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, with organizations and businesses, you still have to have some processes in place,
Yes.
and I run into various challenges with organizations as well, and I know that sometimes with organizations we have a heart into it. A
Mhm.
lot of time it's passion driven work, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people feel as though if they put too many systems in place, or if they kind of put things more in or if they kind of look in a different perspective of return on investment and different things like
Mhm.
that, that they're somehow taking the heart and meat out of,
Mhm.
their organization and different things that they're doing.
Right.
um, and a lot of times I see that, especially writing grants and different things like that, where you do have to be able to say or be able to quantify a lot of the things that you do for various organizations and the people that you're reaching and all the great work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And of course, you have the storytelling piece, you have the qualitative things, but you
Mhm.
also have to have like that little piece, the quantitative things where you have to put things in perspective and have to have numbers and processes in place, and they have to be done well.
Absolutely.
For your organization as well as business to grow, because that's what we're in business to do, right? Whether it's a business or organization, you're there so you can expand your reach. In order for you to be able to serve more people in the future, to go from serving 50 people to 100 people to 1,000 people
Mhm.
or 10,000 people, you have to have your operations, in a place of growth and in a place where strategy and different things like that. Which gets me to my next question. uh,
Mhm.
um, what are some of your most common challenges that you've seen with small businesses or organizations when it comes to fundraising, and and just even expanding, or just knowing when should they have a professional or when they need help when it comes to
Mhm.
operations, or because sometimes people don't know.
Yeah.
I've been needing that help like a year
Mhm.
ago. So when
Yeah.
from your perspective, when?
Well, I really think that I'll answer your question in two parts. So I answer the what, then the when. So when it comes to what are some of the biggest challenges, I frequently see time management and tech integration. Just because,
Mhm.
specifically with small business owners, as you said, it's very passion driven work, right? So you're very
Mhm.
focused on the idea or the clientele that you want to garner. As a result of that, you kind of just disregard what the best route is to get there because you're very focused on what it is that's the end goal, but not the everyday steps that it's taking you to get to that. So you might be running that race trying to get to that end piece of things, and you might get across the finish line with a scraped knee, might be missing one shoe, might be missing a few other things, but you got there. But the thing is that we want you to get there whole, we want you to get there healthy. And so people, specifically the business owners, what I see is that they have a lot more work that they can really manage on
Mm.
the day to day, on the week, when it comes to the caseload, to the clientele. And those issues don't go away when you continue to get more clients, right? The more clients that you get, they're going to expect the same level of commitment to you that you were able to give your first initial clients as well. And so the time management piece of things is very, very key. When am I going to dedicate time to business development? When am I going to dedicate time to make sure I get more people on board? So that way I'm not having to shoulder this entire work myself. And most importantly, the tech integration piece of things really helps with the time management. So when you have a lot of systems and processes in place, that's going to free up more time for you to focus on the parts of the business that you love, the things that you are passionate about, the overarching vision. But you have to have those systems in place first, because not only is it going to be beneficial to you, but then when other individuals come on board as well, you're going to have to train those individuals. You want them to feel supported, and people like structure as well. And so if they come into a house
Mhm.
that they feel things are scattered and all over the place, just like you're stretched thin, everyone else who works there is going to be stretched thin as well. And it just creates a culture. And so no matter how great the vision might be, if you don't have the proper systems in place, it's going to be very, very hard to achieve it. That's why we actually see that most small businesses, I think it's within the first 5 years, 50% of small businesses fail. And then if we expand that to the 10-year mark, 65% of small businesses fail. And that goes to show you that you can't just live off of passion forever, right? We have to put
Yeah.
those different pieces in place to make sure you're able to achieve what it is that you're wanting. And there's a lot of systems out there that might not be as costly as people are thinking, and it's not
Yeah.
going to take the amount of work that you're wanting as well, or you're thinking it might take, to integrate those into your operations. Now, there's going to be a slight pause, of course, because with anything, there's a transition period, but that's when you bring in an expert. So, for instance, at Reach Consulting, we actually have a change management package when people do decide, hey, I'm looking at all the things I have done. There's a lot more on my plate than what I can do, what my team can do. We need help to put some systems in place to alleviate a lot off of a lot of people at the business, not just me. That's when you bring in a professional, because chances are, if you don't have time to put the software, the CRM, the middleware in place to make sure that things are taken care of, you're going to want someone whose job it is to just spend that time. And they can go ahead, map that out perfectly for you. And then you don't have to jeopardize any of your clients. You don't have to jeopardize any of your business, and you don't have to jeopardize any of the talent that you have there on your team as well. And these are processes that can be applied, of course, not only to operations, but to fundraising efforts. There's so many different platforms that people can use that get their fundraising efforts just straight away taken off. It
Mhm.
alleviates that burden for you, essentially, as if you have your own fundraising consultant there or your own fundraising manager in house. And so tapping in with professionals, they can let you know, hey, this is an area where we can provide some relief, and this might be the platform or venue you want to choose to do so.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even just talking about different platforms and things that
Yeah.
people can use, just utilizing that tech. Like
Hmm.
for instance, there are a lot of fundraising platforms that are out there. One that I've used most recently has been Bloomerang. And with
Mm.
that one, and one of the reasons why I love that one is because it ties in marketing,
Hmm.
fundraising, as well as having a CRM.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that about it. And of course, people use the Salesforce. I know some
Hmm.
folks use a lot of other platforms out there when it comes to, to making sure that the tech side is, taken care of, especially with CRMs. But I
Yeah,
will tell anybody having a CRM helps out so much. And
it
even
does.
just even to go, even if you're starting at the basics, right? You're starting at
Mhm.
the beginning, just let's start somewhere. A
Yeah.
spreadsheet, some files, something. We just need some type of system in place until we can build up and be able to, do better, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, like you said, Bloomerang, there's a lot of different ones. Classy is one that I've used personally as
Mhm.
well. But they take the guesswork out of it for you. And I know that it feels almost like a battle within yourself because I mean I have my own business, Reach Consulting. I'm the founder and CEO of that, but I've also worked with enough small business owners as well to understand that it does feel like if I don't spend all of my time on my business, then am I truly dedicating myself to the cause? And realizing that there's ways to give all of yourself that don't run you ragged, and CRM
Mhm.
systems making standard operating procedures, right? Things of that nature are very, very helpful to make sure that you don't have to spend as much time. And there's some people who I've talked to them and they're running multi-million dollar businesses and they're doing it just from a Google Doc, right?
Oh,
And you there that's good at some point, but when you're trying to scale, then you want to make sure that especially when you have a team around you, that they all have visibility into what the operations are, what the overall goals are, what's that look like, how do we measure it? And then a lot of these CRMs have analytics built into it as well. So that way it lets you know as the business owner, okay, how are my team members doing here? How satisfied are my customers? For those who have fundraising efforts involved, how engaged are my donors? How frequently do they donate? Is it around a specific time of the year? You get to get all those metrics so that way you can customize and tailor what your messaging is going to be to whoever it is your clientele is without you having to pour over hours and hours and hours of research and do all the Google searching. Let your CRM do all that work for you instead.
absolutely. And now it's so much tech out here now with
Yes.
just Canva. Let me tell you,
Mhm.
Canva, oh my goodness. When I was first, just starting out or whatever, I
Mhm.
was looking. So I've been using Canva years now, right? I feel like I'm a Canva pro, but I let my team do a lot. They're
Mhm.
amazing. They handle it. But
Mhm.
if I got to dig in there, I can use Canva to do some pretty powerful stuff. Like there's so many things
Mhm.
out there that's right at our fingertips
Yeah.
that it just takes us just getting, just using it just a little bit just to
Mhm.
get your feet wet,
Mhm.
because you can use Canva to create brochures, to send out social media posts, to create social media posts for months ahead, and it
Mhm.
automatically posts to
Yeah.
your page, for you. You
Mhm.
don't even have to do that. You integrate it
Yeah.
with all your social media, you create all the content. It even has an AI built into it. So now
Mhm.
you don't even have to try to figure out everything that you're going to say, right? So now
Mhm.
you got AI built into it, so you can ask AI, like, what are some marketable things that you need to say, or, use different prompts.
Mhm.
Hi, act as, the CEO of a particular company, of a
Mhm.
top five Fortune 500 CEO company.
Mhm.
I need 30 days of social media, Instagram posts with captions, with,
Yes.
top SEO hashtags and all of that kind of stuff you put in there. Doop, and it pops out everything, right? So, I mean, there's so many things that are available right now
It
that,
really is.
and it's changing. It's changing daily, right? But there's so many things out there that you
Mhm.
can do that will truly take your operations to the next level. And
Mhm.
and you can help to grow your team. Like, I shout out my team all the time. I love them. They are amazing. They have my back. They try to, they definitely keep me, on the right path. But
Mhm.
even with us, like, sometimes we may get down the line with something or do a new project or something like that. And sometimes we have to go back and modify some of our
Mhm.
operations, or even try to figure out, put some new systems and procedures in place. So I'm just thinking about what you said a little bit earlier about
Mhm.
that, about, making sure that we have the right procedures and things. So
Mhm.
talking about that,
Mhm.
can you tell me about how effective operations
Mhm.
can and systems, how they have been so especially impactful, and maybe like some new things, or just maybe some little tips that you can give people, just like a couple little things, a little tidbit that they can take to create a process, or to create some sort of strategy, and to make
Mhm.
their life a little bit easier.
Gotcha. So, for those who are already established business owners, or even those who are starting out, having a process in place, that's key for you. It's just like if you're trying to build a house, right? If you don't have the right foundation, you can build the prettiest thing on top of that. You can stick a $3 million home on top of a terrible foundation. What's going to happen? It's going to crumble at some point. And that's not what we want, right? We don't want to invest our time, energy, and resources into something that we love and for it to go to rot just because we don't have the basics there. And so sometimes what's required is just taking a step back for a moment, evaluating the situation. And I'm going to give an example for those who are new, and then I'm going to give an example for those who are already established, just some little things you can do to create the procedure. So, for those who are new, you're in a great position because, as Naisia was mentioning a second ago, that there's so many different things available to you right now. There's a lot of different technology, and AI, it's something that's changing on the day to day. But the great thing about that is that we have the opportunity to be a part of the learning each day. So it's not something where you're going to have to catch up and you're already light years behind. Today, if you don't have any types of automation, you don't have anything as of yet, you still are going to be able to effectively change how it is and make sure that your business is in the right direction before you have to make some costly financial mistakes. And so, with that, the first thing that you want to do, because you don't might not have a process as of yet, is just map out what the life cycle looks like for somebody that would be your client. So from before they're a client, so the intake piece of things, and then the actual engagement, map out what that looks like. And depending on what industry you're in, that might change, right? If you're someone who's in consulting like me, or like with innovative strategies as well, a consulting firm, the engagement's going to change based on what it is that you're doing. If you're offering a good or service, there's still a life cycle there. And then the offboarding piece of things too. So at each of those different phases, what does that look like? What are the things that we want to track, and how do we want to engage with them to make them come back for more? Because it's great to have, clients who come, they try your goods, they try your services. They're like, oh, this is great. This really helped me. But in order to really foster relationships, you want to make sure that the offboarding piece of things is something that sends them back to the top of the life cycle. And so with that, there's a lot of different CRMs, and there's different bracketing depending on where you are cost wise, how much you want to allocate to with the budget, how big is your team going to be when you initially start off. Those are all considerations that you want to take into effect. And also, what are your goals? There's different
Mhm.
CRMs for what your goals might be. So if marketing is something that's very important to you right now, maybe a HubSpot. If project management is more important to you, maybe a Monday's not CRM, Monday's project management tool might be very helpful for you starting off. There's a lot of different options available. And so the good thing is just knowing how it is you want to segment the different parts or the life cycle of your customers, then seeing what different technologies can support that. And of course, there's always professionals that can look and tell you, based on what it is you're saying your life cycle is, these are the tools that we recommend you use. Now, more important than getting the tools is getting those tools customized, because
Mhm.
there's a lot of businesses I see as well that get a technology tool, and for the different CRM companies, they'll give you the training that you can watch, right? But afterwards, you don't really know what to do with that. You're stuck with a manual. You're stuck with this new platform that you're like, okay, I guess I have to make this work now that I've paid for it. And you
Yeah.
also don't want to make the costly mistake of getting something just because you think this is what you should get. You want to make sure that that's tailored to you. So that's where, like, for instance, I would come in and I'd be able to say, based on these objectives and goals, this is how we need this done for you. This is how we're going to take all of your existing customer data, migrate it onto this new platform, and we're going to tailor the messaging. You put some, make sure we're using the analytics that we're getting as well, just from some of the past correspondence that you've had with them. Going to migrate all of that data, then let the software do its job and let it do the thinking for you. It's going to tell you, based on this list of customers that we have, this is what they respond to best. These lists of clients, this is what they respond to best. But that's why getting the system tailored is very, very important. So that way you can make sure that you're getting the insights that are most on target and relevant to your clientele. Now, for those who are already in the midst of their business, it's not too late. Don't worry. Just because you've already started, it's never too late to change and make an impactful change. And I like to approach any and every client that I have with letting them know that the attitude of continuous improvement is one that you have to foster in your culture. Now, that doesn't mean you scrap what you're doing every single time something new comes along. Of course, we have to be judicious about how we go about it, but you should always be innovating and looking and seeing, okay, what's something about this process that's not working? What's something that we can change? Where are areas of opportunity to grow this even more? Because the thing is that if your business isn't changing, but the world is changing, your industry is changing, and technology is changing, that's where we reach a danger zone. Especially for those, honestly, those that are more established businesses, that's even a little bit more risky if you're not making the changes in alignment, because then you have a name attached to it, right? People
Yeah.
know who you are. They have a certain expectation of the type of service that you're going to deliver. And you want to make sure that you're able to consistently do that in a replicable manner that's still going to be great quality. And so that's why looking at, for people who are already established, if you don't have standard operating procedures, the easiest way to do it is just go back and look at, take about 3 clients that you've had, right? And maybe in 3 different areas, maybe for each different service that you have, go in there and look at different clients, or for each good or product that you give out, look at different clients and see what the steps are that you're taking for each. Then guess what you're going to be able to see? You're going to be able to track, what am I doing frequently? How much email correspondence am I typically having to do before a deal closes? How long is it typically taking with these engagements? But you're going to be able to track all of that. And if you want to do that manually, just to understand, fine. But also, like I mentioned before, and I keep mentioning, technology is a great tool.
Yes.
So once you get an individual, a professional who can migrate that data on and basically program different workflows, which are just program the software to respond in different ways based on what the situation is. So if I give the software this much data and I say, hey, I want you to look for trends in this area, and this area, the software is going to spit that out for me, right? And that's going to be the framework for how you want your standard operating procedures, because you already have them, whether you know it or not. You just don't have them formalized. And having that formalized for your team, for your clients as well, that's going to keep your clients coming back because they have an expectation of what they get every time that they work with you. But also it's going to keep your team happier because they feel like they have that structure and support to really excel at making that vision of whatever your company is come to reality.
I love that. I love that. You said a lot, so I'm really hoping that everybody grab those jewels. You did speak about the importance of having structure, and I really, really respect that a lot because, sometimes even with established, companies, businesses, and even organizations, you can get
Mhm.
caught in doing the day to day. But then something comes along like the pandemic that switches and changes all of that up.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
now you're having to pivot. Now you're
Mhm.
having to rethink
Yeah.
the way, that you do business or the way that fundraising comes and different things like that
Mhm.
as well.
Yes.
Because I don't know about you, but I know for my industry, a lot of people were hit with a different demographic. It was, the landscape is different. The way
Yeah.
fundraising has been different. The way
Mhm.
sales are being done are different. The way that people engage with you
Mhm.
is a lot different.
Yeah.
So how and I wonder if you've had some people to even seek your services during this time a lot more, during
Mhm.
this time, because they've had to think about it and just try to adjust and try to
Right.
strategize, because what they were doing what is not working anymore,
Mhm.
because the
Yeah,
landscape is different, is not the
exactly.
same. You have a lot of people who are working from home now. I have that
Yes.
opportunity. I can work from home, or I can work from my office, or I can work from, several different places. It's not
Hmm.
the same. I don't have to be there, face to face with a lot of people now.
Yeah.
It helps a lot of times, but there are some times where you don't have to do that. Technology now is just taken over, with a lot of
Mhm.
things. So now, I'm having to make sure that I stay up on whatever it is that come out, because, and maybe not all of it, stuff that serve me, of course, because I'm change my processes and stuff like that just to suit every new thing.
Exactly.
But you definitely have to stay up on it, because if
Hmm.
you don't want to get, I guess get behind, I would say, with
Hmm.
the way that, things are changing and things.
Hmm.
So my next question would have to be that, we talk about capacity building. So,
Hmm.
at Innovative Strategies, with our consulting firm, we deal with capacity building with nonprofits as well as community organizations. We work with
Hmm.
municipalities and various government entities as well. But when I say capacity building, we're talking about general management, technical assistance, grants work,
Hmm.
program development, things like that. So for you, because a lot of people talk about capacity building, but I'm not
Hmm.
so sure if they actually know what that means, right?
Hmm.
They may
Right.
have like a vague understanding, or just kind of maybe have an idea, but you know, maybe not necessarily how to actually do the work to
Hmm.
build their capacity to go beyond where they have been. So
Hmm.
when you have these new clients, sometimes, not all the time, some of them may not necessarily know the strategies and new things that may come into play to actually build their capacity in a certain way. So my
Hmm.
question would be, what does building means to you, or your understanding of it, and how can, I guess, having a better operations system or
Hmm.
strategies, how can that help when building capacity with these organizations or businesses?
So, as you mentioned, capacity building, that's something that everyone might have a slightly different definition just depending on their industry. But for me, if we're just really looking at bare bones, what that means, capacity building is really just developing systems and processes, putting those in place. So that way, the business owners and the employees can focus on the vision of the business and not have to focus on some of those more mundane tasks. And that's really, really key. Especially, we were just talking about earlier how for entrepreneurs and business owners, where there are small businesses in particular, less than 100 employees, they're really focused on the passion, the drive, and the vision and the fulfillment that they get through the work that way. And again, you're not going to be able to reach your ultimate vision and goal if you don't build that capacity within. So sometimes you have to step back to move forward a
Mhm,
bit in a sense. And so, what I mean by that is, let's say I have my own business that I'm just starting up, right? And
mhm,
it's just my family, me and my family members, we run this business. And because I really want to get it off the ground, and let's say it's a coffee shop, I'm working there 7 days a week. Our coffee shop's open 7 days a week. I'm there from open until close. At some point, I'm going to be passed out somewhere. There's no way possible that human beings can push themselves that much without, feeling burnt out at some point.
mhm,
And that's why it's
mhm,
great to have technology as a helpmate to alleviate some of that administrative work that maybe you don't want to do. Take care of some of the operations. Because when you're doing everything for a business, I'm sure you've heard the saying that a master of all things is a master of none.
mhm,
And you don't want to shoot for that. You want to specialize in what it is that you're doing. And as the business owner, your specialty should be the vision, right? Your specialty should be the overall goal of the operation. So business development, what am I bringing in as far as eyes? What am I bringing in as far as products to be able to put out to individuals as well? And so being able to focus on that means you have to let something go. That's what they call opportunity costs. In order to get something, you have to give something.
Mhm.
And you don't want to give so much of yourself to making sure that the accounting is taken care of, that now my coffee shop's closed because I focused my energy in the wrong way. So you want to free up that time so that way only a portion of your day is on those mundane tasks. And to be quite frank, the software, the systems, the technology that you have in place is giving you something on a daily basis. You're able to look at your dashboards, you're able to look at your reports, say, hey, based on this information, these are probably what my objectives should look like for the next few months. This is what my objectives should look like even for this week. This is how
Mhm.
many clients that I need to bring into my coffee shop. I need to get 80 people to buy a cappuccino, and I know that I'm going to be doing good for this week. Now, realistically, that coffee shop's probably going to close with 80. That's just a number I just threw out there. 80 a week, you probably need to sell a little bit more than that. But
Yeah.
whatever the number is, having the data that does those insights for you, having the
Mhm.
data to do that administrative work that no one really wants to focus on anyway, and having a professional go in and to kind of highlight for you, these are the areas where I think you can be freed up a little bit. Let's integrate some technology, let's integrate some workflow, some automation, so that way you can focus on being happy and smiley for the customers walking through your coffee shop in the morning. That's what that looks like for me, capacity building.
I love a lot of things that you mentioned in that. First of all, I had to write down that saying while you was talking. I was like, yeah, I like that saying right there. You got to step back in order to move forward.
Sometimes
And
you
and
do.
and, and I love that because and I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty
Mhm.
of it as
We
well.
all are. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're the administrator, if that's you the founder, or
Mhm.
or you in an executive role, sometimes you kind of look at that as, hey, that these are your babies, right?
Right.
These organizations, and you're trying to, you're invested.
Hmm.
For a lot of people, they're truly invested in the mission of of that particular organization or that
Right.
business. So sometimes, I'm not a micromanager, but I have worked with people who are micromanagers.
Hmm.
But even if I'm not, there are a lot of things that you would want to, be a certain way and done a certain way. So sometimes you have to be okay with things not being perfect.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's not
Mhm.
going to be perfect. Or you're gonna have to be okay with and having like trust even in your team, right?
Yes.
For them to even get to know you and get to know like how you would like things to be done,
Hmm.
or when you have those processes in play, like you were
Hmm.
talking about,
Hmm.
those processes in play where when you step away, that thing is still moving. They
Exactly.
already know exactly what it is to do because you've already established those processes. You already have established, you and your team have established ABCD 1, 2, 3. They already know it day in, day out. We do ABCD 1, 2, 3. We do these things because of whatever, you have your meetings, y'all talk about it, whatever,
Hmm.
and then you go about your day, and you can walk away and step away and be fine
Yeah.
with knowing that your babies or your organizations are going to be all right. You're going to be fine. Just go ahead on and get out, and do what it is that you need to do,
Hmm.
and what it is that that passion and the
Hmm.
mission and things like that. And then you also talked about something else that is really real as far as like burnout. Like a lot
Yeah.
of times I think, and I'm guilty of that too, in that, like sometimes people get sick, colds,
Hmm.
things happen, life. I get it.
Hmm.
But sometimes I think so many of us have been on the brink of burnout because we're just trying to do so much and we believe in what it
Yeah.
is we're doing so hard that we almost burn ourselves out. And
Mhm.
I really love you talking about that. And I know that some of those things are real when we're trying to build our capacity up to be able to do more, to take on more, to be able to serve more, to
Right.
give more, to,
Hmm.
and that's the thing,
Exactly.
because that's the overall goal, right? The overarching goal. We want to be able to reach more people, to serve more people, to give more of ourselves. So,
Mhm.
but you can't do that unless you build your capacity, which may mean, like what you said, step back in order to move forward and
Mhm.
delegate other people so they'll be able to handle the things that you aren't able to do. So that means now you're growing your team even larger. So now you have
Exactly.
this bigger team, and then they can handle more stuff, and then you're reaching more people. So it's
Right.
really cool. I really like how you put that. You put that in a beautiful way. I really do.
Oh,
Um,
well, thank you.
all right. So we only have just a few more minutes to go, but I just want to, I have a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
Um, what are some actionable things that people can do? Like, we're just gonna, and I think we probably have talked a little bit on those
Mhm.
already. So, and it can probably even be a two-part question, where
Okay.
actionable steps, and maybe if you see any new trends or anything like that. Have you seen any new trends? How things are
Mhm.
trending? Anything out there that folks need to know when it comes to operations, anything
Mhm.
that maybe they just need to be aware of, that's on the horizon. I think we've already talked about
Mhm.
AI, but if there's more to
Mhm.
that, then I'm sure that people would like to know.
For sure. So first, what I'll do is I'll talk about some new trends that I'm seeing or new focus areas,
Hmm.
and then get into what people can do about that. So one thing that I'm seeing a lot post pandemic is the way that people engage with their clientele has changed drastically.
Okay. Hmm.
And it makes sense why, because we were all forced to separate. We were all
Hmm.
forced to no longer be able to have those casual talks and the eatery places or at someone's cubicle, right? In order to interact with them, you have to be a lot more intentional. There's not going to be any casually bumping in when you're working from home. And now, as you mentioned before, a lot of the workforce is remote. So
Hmm.
even being able to check up on what your team members are doing for the day to day, you can't just peek over, or the boss can't circle around and make sure is everyone at their laptops doing what they should be doing, which should not be the culture anyway.
No.
But
No.
but you don't have that level of visibility into what it is that your team's doing. Your team doesn't have that connection as much anymore to whoever the head of the business is, the head of the sales department. And so there's a lot more distance, and the consumers feel that as well. When you're not able to interact with people as much, being able to see their body language, being able to see how they're smiling. Like right now in the conversation, you can see how I feel about what I'm talking about. I can see how you feel about what we're discussing. But all that's stripped away, especially if you're driving e-commerce, if you're someone who meets with people primarily over Zoom, with your consulting services, if you're selling goods or products at all on the internet. It just, there's a level of distance and separation, and technology has to be used to bridge that gap, right? From a time where not that long ago, it's only been maybe a couple years since we were all shut out,
Yeah.
and some people realize I kind of like being able to be to myself. And so how do you still reach that customer base? How do you still make sure that they're getting the offerings that they need, even if they're behind closed doors? And so you have to be very intentional, as I mentioned. So that's where a lot of the different CRM software, they have different AI integrations into it. AI is used quite a bit now, but all those are learning models. And so it's going to teach you how to better service your customers. So if you hear AI, don't be afraid. It's nothing that's going to come and take over your jobs. What it does is it helps you to perform better in whatever your given capacity or function is. But a lot of software is going to let you know those insights that are going to let you know how you need to interact with your customer base, how you need to interact with prospective customers, what people generally in your market or your target audience, whoever it is that you're trying to reach, what it is that they prefer, what are their buying patterns, what is it as far as mission that they're looking for as well. And that doesn't mean you change the mission of your organization, right? That just means that you're aware, okay, maybe this isn't who I should be targeting. Maybe this portion of people that I used to target, maybe they look a little different now after the pandemic. Maybe I need to come over here and look at group B a little bit more. But being able to segment who it is that you're trying to interact and engage with on a customer level, that is very, very key. And there's a lot of software that can be used to identify how it is you go about segmentation, and then implementing segmentation, and then automating it. So what do I mean by that? So being able to see the different lists, implementing it, which means just making sure that your messaging that's sent out is going to be specific to each person, then automating it so you don't even have to go back on a day to day. So it sends out one email based on that response. You already have your automation set up that if they respond this way, we're going to shoot them this. If they respond this way, we're going to shoot them that. So that's just working like clockwork in the background without you having to lift a finger. And think about how much work you would have to do on the customer engagement piece of things if you were manually sending out those emails to every person you wanted to reach for just your existing clients. Now I want you to think about doing that for clients that you want to get, those prospective clients. That's way too much work for you to be doing on your own. And so the customer engagement piece of things needs to be more technology driven. And we're seeing that CRM softwares are responding to this change and to this pivot by integrating a lot more automation into their systems, making it easier for you to connect and engage with your clientele. Now, as far as the second part of your question, which are what are some actionable things that you can do right now? This is an exercise that I do with myself pretty frequently just to make sure I'm not falling into a slump. Maybe every month or every 2 months I do it. And I encourage all of the business owners here that are watching this to do this exercise today. So I want everyone to take a sheet of paper. No, you're sat up a little bit. But I want everyone to take a sheet of paper, a laptop, however it is that you prefer to document things. And I'm going to have you make 3 lists. Okay.
Okay.
So on this first
list, my paper. I'm gonna be. I might not do it right now, but I'll do it later. So I'm writing this down
mentally. Just take note of the 3 lists you have to make. So the first list that I want you to do is I want you to make a list of everything that you and your team do manually. So that can be something as small as scheduling meetings. That can be something as small as the administrative work, the marketing efforts that you do, the lead sourcing, lead generation, anything that you all are doing that's manual. I want you to make a list of that, not just you, but you and your team.
Okay.
All right. Now, the second thing that I want you to do, this is for the business owners specifically, or the division heads as well, if we have any sales individuals on the call. I want you to make a list of everything you hate doing. Now, when I say hate doing, the stuff that when you wake up in the day and you think about what's ahead of you, what you have to do for the day, you sigh when you open the laptop. So whether that's going and poring over, I know for some call centers, they have to do a lot of call listening, right, for their employees before they can say, hey, this is how I coach you towards a certain mark. For other individuals, it might be poring over all the information, all the data on their website trafficking, right? Just whatever it is that makes you sigh when you open your laptop, make a list of all of those things. Okay. And then I want you to, on the other side of that, I want you to say how many hours that takes up for you each day. Now, the third thing that I want you to make a list of, and this is for the business owners in particular as well, is all of the business that you've either have pending or you've had to walk away from because you don't have the time to do it. And then next to that, I want you to put how much that's cost your business in revenue. Now, once you make those 3 lists, one is the task that you all are doing manually, how much that's costing you on a weekly basis in time. The second list is everything you hate doing, how much that's costing you on the day-to-day. And the third is the pending business or the business you've had to walk away from and the revenue that would have been associated from that. Now, when you look at that list, if you can stomach that, if you're like, you know what, I can eat all these manual tasks. I can eat doing stuff that I hate on a day-to-day basis. And I can eat the fact that I left all this money aside, then okay, crumble up the sheet of paper, throw it away. But if you're looking at that list and it's bothering you, you know that it's time to get in contact with someone who can really help. Because that lets you know that you're in a place operations-wise that's not going to be sustainable for your business. And you don't want your business to be one of those that fails after 10 years. You don't want to be a part of that 65%. You
Mhm.
want to be on the other end of the 35% that has those systems in their operations built in that are sustainable and that promote growth. And so do that exercise, do it frequently, assess your business, and decide how to move forward from there.
Well, you know what? I love that. Look, the reason why I set up, I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I was like, "Ooh, homework,"
Me
right?
too.
So
It's okay.
I mean, that's so bad. That is so bad. We just started the beginning of school year, and I have to admit, I was such a nerd. So at the beginning of the school year, I would always love the smell of pencils and
Oh
paper
gosh.
like that. I was such a nerd and a crisp book. So okay,
Oh
all right,
Lord.
I'm getting off but to get back on what you were saying, even
Mhm,
those 3 things
mhm.
would even translate over to organizations as well.
Yes.
So, just so I get it. So I wrote it
Mhm.
down. So the first one is to make 3 lists. The first one is to have everything that to include everything that the team does manually. That's
Yes.
the first one. The second one, this is more focused on the leader,
Mhm,
but this is everything that they hate doing.
mhm,
They want to make a write those down and how many hours it takes them to do it.
mhm.
Then number 3, all the business that they had to walk away from to translate that over into organization, all the business or all the grants,
Mhm.
all the funding,
Yes.
all the money that you could have gotten, but maybe you didn't have the time to work on that grant.
Mhm.
Go out there and follow up with the foundations or the philanthropists, and how much did it cost the business? So it wasn't as if you didn't know, you had access to it, but
Mhm.
you were unable to
To
pursue it,
do it.
did not have the time. And so
Exactly.
that was number 3. And how much did it cost the business? Now those, look, you're gonna have me doing this list.
You
I
should.
I'm gonna do this list. I know it's gonna hurt my feelings because I already can think of a couple of them off the top of my head right now.
And
But
when you
they
think do
kind
the
of
second
already
part of the list too. Oh, go ahead. Well, I was gonna say when you do the second part of the list, you have to account for the time you spent procrastinating doing the thing that you hate too.
oh Lord.
So if you spent
Yeah.
6 hours procrastinating because you knew you didn't want to do something, add that in too.
Okay. Okay. Girl, I barely have time to procrastinate, but hey, it is what it is. But sometimes though, I think for me, some of my things
Mhm.
would be is to make sure that I'm productive and not necessarily just busy.
Mm,
Because sometimes I
that's
have so
good.
many things that's on my plate, and
Right.
that's where my team comes in. Because
Mhm.
I'm telling you, I have great people on my team, and they'll be like, "Hey, delegate."
Right.
That's their word, like delegate. So they're
Mhm.
wanting more work and things like that. So
Mhm.
and I love them for that. They'll see the stress or will be like, "Hey, hey, yeah, we can take on some more." So, yeah, because like I said, I'm not a micromanager, but
Right.
we get things done all the time, and I love them for it.
Mhm.
So, all right. So, just to go back over some of the things that we talked about, because we're
Mhm.
in our last few minutes of this call.
Okay.
So we're in our last 6 minutes and some seconds or whatnot of this call. So just go back and recap or whatnot.
Mhm.
I will have to say, Jasmine, you have come on here and shared some true jewels. We actually have a few people in the comment section. Dorothy Lewis, I know she mentioned that she was excited for you and your consulting services and things like that. And another person was on here saying there's some great information, Miss Gloria
Mhm.
Cockrell. So that was really great. So I just had to shout them out simply because they did put something in the chat box, and I absolutely love when they
Yes.
do that, when we have our guests to come on and do that. Um, so I love the fact that you talked about the operations, that you talked about having strategies, that you talked
Mhm.
about, utilizing and leveraging technology in order
Right.
to automate various parts of things that need to be done within organizations and businesses.
Mhm.
I love the fact that you talked about burnout. That was
Yeah.
something that you addressed, and actually having objectives.
Mhm.
So a part of having, organizational development and and these processes and operations and things like that, is
Mhm.
making sure that we have these things so you don't burn out yourself or your team, right?
Right, exactly.
So I love that. I love that you really touched on that. I love that you talked about intentional engagement, target and segmentation,
Mhm.
automation. Look, I'm going through. See, I took notes. I took
I
notes.
can see. I was like, you hit on all the
I
points.
took notes, okay? So, and I'm hoping that other people take the notes as well, you
Yes.
know. And I'm just gonna let you take this minute.
Mhm.
I'm pretty much done, but I'm gonna let you
Mhm.
take this moment to let people know where our guests can find you,
Mhm.
and if you have any upcoming events or
Mhm.
anything like that, where they can find you and how they can contact you. And
Mhm.
then after that, I'll give you a little bit more information about anything that we're doing. And I
Yes.
look forward to people coming and tuning in again within next month. We'll have another guest as well. Just coming in and just checking us out because we have fantastic speakers like Jasmine. And so, thank you so much for coming on here. So, I want to go ahead and let you take this time and tell us about your upcoming projects and how the folks can get in contact with you.
For sure. And thank you again. This has been a blast. I've enjoyed our conversation. We have to do this again because
Yeah.
I really enjoyed too. You brought out even more than I thought that I even had to talk about. So this was great. Um, as far as upcoming events, so if any of you all are in the New York area and you all are any female sales leaders, women of color, female sales leaders in particular, I will be a featured speaker on the main stage for the Sisters in Sales Summit that happens in Brooklyn, New York. Next weekend, it's going to be from September 19th until the 21st. And I'll be there talking about different AI driven enablement techniques. So, this one's going to be very organization, sales leadership, the VPs, executives of different sales organizations focused, and just teaching them different strategies and different technologies that they can integrate into their sales operations to be able to affect change. And so, if any of that sounds like you, it sounds like it would be great for you for sure. Well, I'd love to see you there.
Yes.
And in addition to that, if any of the things that we talked about today just piqued your interest, what we do have at Reach Consulting, we have our tech toolkit. So if after you make that list, you see that, you know what, I can't exactly stomach how much money I've left on the table, how much time I'm taking to do tasks instead of business development, what you can do is go to consultreach.com and go to the contact us portion of it and just request the toolkit. And what I'll do is I'll send you over the tech toolkit just so that way you can get an idea of what's out there as far as technology. And after you take a look at that, we definitely would be there to be able to help you implement any of the technology that catches your eye, and be able to do an assessment of what some of your needs are too. So, in addition to that, we also do have our bi-weekly newsletter that you can also get under the Tech Talk portion of our consultreach.com website. And with that, we just keep you all up to date on different things that are changing in technology and how you can use that in your organization. So, lots of great information out there. Contact us there and we'll be sure to get back to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Jasmine. And I look forward to having more conversations with you as well.
Yes.
This is not the last time you will be on here and for us to kind of discuss things. One of the reasons why I love to have these kind of talks is because, a lot of times I go to conferences, I meet people and different things like that, and they have questions, right? And
Right.
these are valid questions about things that are going on within their business, things that are going on within their organizations. And I have a lot of partners. I do. I think that's a part of capacity building,
It is.
having partners, whether you're an organization or a business, having partners that are able to give and to serve in
Mhm.
a capacity in which you may not either have the capacity or you just want to, do things together, partner
Yeah.
together, right? So that's what I love. I love to do that and I love to give back. So this is kind of my way of giving back and just being able to provide these type of resources and
Mhm.
information out there, and also to have my friends to come on and talk about what it is that they do that will also help the folks out there. So of course, just be on our social media, on Innovative Strategies social media. We are on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on all the socials. Okay, we got it all. So just yeah, definitely look out for our for our next talk. And I really look forward to, chatting with you again, Jasmine. As for us, we have a few things that's coming up as well. We will definitely be at the Grant Professionals Association annual. That is from October the 30th to November the 2nd. That's in Denver. If you see me, please say hello. Come holler at me. I would love to, just reach out to you guys and just talk to you a little bit. So if you see me at that conference, let me know. I would love to see you guys there. Also, we will be at Harvard for a leadership summit, or a course that we're taking through the Harvard Kennedy School in government on effective leadership across sectors. So just be on the lookout on social media for that, because we'll definitely just post about the experience that we had. And hopefully we'll be able to come back and give you guys some more jewels and some more information that could help your organization or business out. So in the meantime, if you want to get in contact with us, hit us up. You have all of our social media.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Or Siri wants to get in on it as well. So, or you can just reach out to us at 205 386 5638. That is one of our numbers in the Alabama area. You can reach out to us there as well. So I think that's about all. So I want to thank you guys for coming, and we look forward to seeing you guys again soon.